Howdy folks, today we're playing Goblins in Aetherdrift Standard. This is a deck popularized by a lot of the new cool Goblin cards like Draconautics Engineer, Howlsquad Heavy, there's this one over here, what's it called? Burnout Bashtronaut, and then also Amonkhet Raceway. All of them either, giving haste, in the case of Amonkhet Raceway, including also starting your engines, which also works with the Burnout Bashtronaut. Gives this creature double strike if the engines are full. Amonkhet Raceway, if the engines are at max speed, can give creatures haste, which is really good with your Krenko Mob Boss. We can also give Krenko Mob Boss haste with the Howlsquad Heavy, which is also a new card. Start your engines as well. Creates a Goblin creature token every turn that attacks each combat if able, and also if you're max speed, can add a lot of mana if you have a lot of Goblins in play. Squee, of course, very similar to Howlsquad Heavy, and then it makes a Goblin every attack step when you attack with it. There's a little difference there, but Squee can also come back from the graveyard. So just 6 of these effects is pretty good. And then most importantly, this deck is a Impact Tremors Warleader's Call deck, where when creatures enter the battlefield, we're going to deal damage to our opponent. Warleader's Call costs an extra mana, but for that you also get the +1/+1 on all creatures. Impact Tremors, just whenever a creature enters, deals 1 damage to opponent, and so that paired with Rundvelt Hordemaster can make your goblins pretty big or do a lot of damage, ostensibly. And then we have like Searslicer Goblin to create 1/1s. Also, obviously, these two create 1/1s. Krenko can create a bunch of 1/1s, which if you have Impact Tremors on the battlefield, creating X 1/1 Goblin creature tokens, where X is the number of goblins you control, is pretty good. It can deal a lot of damage with the Impact Tremors or the Warleader's Call, or both. And then Torture Tower is just one of the best removal spells in the format. If you're playing red, probably should be in your deck. It's an excellent card. So we also have Cavern of Souls to get past any sort of counter spells we might see. Some control decks. Cool Goblins build. It's definitely more fun than just playing mono red. Probably a little bit worse than mono red in the aggregate. Let's be real, but definitely way more fun. So let's see how much more fun it is on the ladder. Alrighty, going first with an aggro deck. Obviously a good place to be. We have Burnout Bashtronaut, Reckless Lackey. Pretty good squad here. We're definitely going to keep this. Real question is what we're doing on turn 1. And I think starting your engines on turn 1 is pretty valuable. Although you can... Actually, I think we're going to start with the Reckless Lackey because he deals the 1 damage. And starting our engines is going to be the same next turn with... maybe not, actually. I'm going to say attack or not. They do. Yeah, now I feel like we should just play this Draconautics Engineer, and I probably should have played this Burnout Bashtronaut on turn 1, but that's alright. Get the engines going with the Howlsquad Heavy next turn. 1 damage to us, Bolt Wave. Okay, opponent's just playing straight up burn. No blocks here on the 2-3. Howlsquad Heavy coming in. Started some engines there, now we're on 2. Next turn we get to play Searslicer Goblin and Burnout Bashtronaut, both pretty good. And we can also have the option to just give this Burnout Bashtronaut +1/+0 if we want. I don't think we'll do that. I think we'll probably pretty clearly play the Searslicer Goblin. Warleader's Call would be pretty good. Get some stuff. Man. Opponent aggressive here obviously means they have some sort of removal spell. Probably Lightning Strike on our Howlsquad Heavy. Ooh, okay. Didn't play anything. They didn't buff their Swift Spear. Another damage to the dome here. What do they have? Lightning Strike? Lightning Helix. Ooh, Helix is very good against us. Getting that life for our opponent. I think we're just playing what we have. Just jamming. Probably going to look to block with this Goblin if they allow us to. Let's see what they have. We obviously have a huge board. E2 Lava Runner. Paste, sure thing. Kind of want to try to block here, actually. See what that makes them do. Monstrous Rage there would be good. They don't have it. This is not really a Monstrous Rage style deck. At least, Pyromancer. Okay, down to 9. This means we can exhaust and give it +1 and everything. +1 in haste. Not quite enough to defeat our opponents. This is menace. This is first strike, which I think means we want to keep it back. We want to attack like this. Plan to block. I think yeah, we're definitely just putting these creatures in front of these creatures. Certainly blocking the Swift Spear if either of these live. If they give us the chance. We'll see. They have some sort of pump spell here. Looking at their Swift Spear like they do. Have to get 9 across. Lightning strikes for face, okay. Down to 6. Another Pyromancer. Doesn't quite get there, and that means we have a lethal dragon in the air. Kind of thankful that to catch the absolute best version of that deck from our opponent, but Goblins winning the aggro mirror. GG. Alrighty, going first again, and we do have an Impact Tremors in this hand. I like what we got rolling here. Let's keep it. Go Lackey into Impact Tremors. Into Draconautics Engineer. Yeah, I think Impact Tremors works here. Opponent played Eldritch Cornfield. There's some sort of Bant deck. We're going to get this on Goblin. Do this so that they can't counter our spell here. They have removal, they have Ride's End, okay. But we did attack, so we did another damage here. Feels like some sort of control deck. Beans Domain, maybe? Okay, the Beanstalk making an appearance. To me, this kind of feels like a Wrath. So we'll just attack here, keep the Draconautics Engineer. One down to 9. If this Hordemaster flips something, we get to play it. Do they have a Day of Judgment? Temporary Lockdown would be bad. Temporary Lockdown is very good against this deck, by the way. Base, okay. Base is pretty good. Krenko, though. Man, Krenko's also pretty good. Can't have haste, though. So what do we want to do? I can just play this Draconautics Engineer now and then Krenko next turn. And just attack with these big idiots here. And then maybe cast something with the Rundvelt Hordemaster. Okay, this block indicates to me that they're opening a Wrath next turn, unfortunately. I think I would double block, otherwise that wasn't the case. See what we hit here. Burnout Bashtronaut, sure thing. It's free, might as well cast it, get extra damage here. Even if they have Sunfall here. They do have the Sunfall, okay. That's better into our Rundvelt Hordemaster if we don't get all those triggers. Sunfall is definitely what we're trying to avoid. Okay, Krenko it is. Did the damage to our opponent, so now it's 3. Hope we find another Goblin before we get Impact Tremors. Or before we can tap this to create more 1/1s. If they don't have any more removal, we might be looking good. No, nothing here. We're just gonna pass. Make them spend the full board for a ride out. Gets around it. Well, Elspeth's Smite too if they have that. Which they very easily could have. 3 steps ahead, draw 2, discard. think they're keeping this up for a ride's end or to incubate this. No more lives. Okay, incubate. Okay, sure thing. Opponent's gonna be attacking for 6. See what they have. Whites, green. Another Besa. Sure. Gonna gain the life. Not gonna draw a card though. Tapped. That's fine. Dings us for 6. Oh, does not ding us for 6. Okay. And they had a Ranazin in this whole time. I feel like they just should have used it last turn instead of 3 steps ahead, but that's okay. Everyone does it their own way. Yeah, game's kind of getting away from us here. That Sunfall specifically, instead of being a Day of Judgment, really soured our chances to win. Definitely not what you're looking to run into. I'm sure this deck has temporary lockdown as well. Those are some of the challenges of playing goblins here. Don't think we want to block. It could definitely have something exile related, but I don't think we need to block yet. I think we'll block this turn though. If this is a counter spell plus draw and discard, we probably will concede with a main at 13. They can make another Besa too, although they're... Oh yeah, they could counter make a Besa. Yeah, that would be game over. Let's see. Draw 2, discard. Don't even feel like they need to be the extra Besa. Yeah, I don't think we can beat what our opponent has going on now. GG's. 7 lands is tough too. We did flood out. Couldn't quite get there against control. Maybe we'll get another matchup against them. Try to redeem ourselves. GG. Alrighty, going first with some Reckless Lackey and Torch the Tower. I think without being able to cast the Torch the Tower, it's an interesting decision whether to keep or not. But basically, all our decks and mana sources, other than what we have here, produce red mana, so pretty likely we'll draw it. Question is, do we want to play this Rundvelt Hordemaster or the Draconautics Engineer? Opponent's on Lizard. We'll play the Rundvelt Hordemaster. Get the Draconautics Engineer, shoot down a Lizard next turn, most likely. Issue a Ponymancer, sure. This is just a white mana source. I think we'd rather get the engine started here. Shoot this. Auto pay. Get in there here. Okay, engine's up to 2. Have a Torch the Tower for another Lizard. Lizards like to have 2 health. Lizard Wizard is a cool creature type. Lizard Mercenary here, sure thing. Howlsquad Heavy is pretty good. By not giving this Draconautics Engineer haste, we're definitely signaling to our opponent that we have a Torch the Tower. I think it's worth signaling that though to keep it up. Just go ahead and torch this so we can. Not really expecting pump spells unless they make us lose life, but then they'd have to have extra mana. Yeah, just to go for the throw in response. Another Draconautics Engineer. We can't cast though. Opponent maybe doesn't know that, but doesn't matter. Kind of run our opponent over there. GG's. 1 mana, which is a mountain. We can cast Burnout Bashtronaut and Draconautics Engineer. Kind of need a couple lands for this hand to work. Man, I think we're risking it. This is such an excellent hand if we draw one land even. Started some engines, see what our opponent has. Torch the tower, this is a Junda deck. Quag Beast, okay. This is some sort of graveyard deck. Bloodghast can regain a creature. Probably some sort of sacrifice deck. Sacrifice mill deck. Oh, okay. They're probably trying to dredge the exhaust card. This is the exhaust deck. Okay. Draconautics Engineer. Overlord of the Bailmerk. Yes. Bloodghast back. All this to say, probably not going to matter. Exiling on Torch the Tower, showing why it's relevant here. Probably not going to matter if we don't draw any lands here. We do draw land, though. Draconautics Engineer coming in. Now, if we draw another land, I think Warleader's Call is our best bet. Cast Grab. You can put a permanent card from along the mill. Blackleaf's Cliffs tapped, okay. Opponent's going to be able to jam like an Overlord here eventually, though. Torch the Tower, sure. I'm going to have a Draconautics Engineer where that comes from. Or just a Warleader's Call. I think we'd rather Squee here, though. Get our damage in, get to the board, and then get this Warleader Call down next turn. Where, if they don't kill a Squee, it does work. At 2 engine speed, Overlord impended. And I got a Dredger's Insight. It's going to gain him a life. Opponent will be able to gain some life with this Dredger's Insight. Draconautics Engineer, the Exhaust ability. They did find 2 Afterburner Experts. That's the purpose of this card. Okay, we would love to be able to kill that Draconautics Engineer because they're going to be able to get it back otherwise. Cannot. Warleader's Call. I think it just makes sense. Makes our creatures bigger. Deals them for 1 here. Increases their speed. Makes it hard to block. Well, not obviously not going to block because this Draconautics Engineer is going to get back these Afterburner Experts. And it's going to give them haste as well. Opponent might just die here though if they swing out. So let's see. Yeah, they're definitely thinking about what they should attack with because I think they should attack with these 2 4/2s. This is the attack I would make. Oh, they're attacking with everything. Okay, so they're 13. Can you kill them? Okay, so this is going to be 3, 7, 8, 9, 10 from the Warleader's Call. Don't think we can exactly get to lethal here. If we had 1 more mana, we could Draconautics Engineer and haste something out. As it stands here, though, we'd have to block 3 things. I guess Searslicer Goblin gives us another thing to block. And another trigger. But I believe this splits our opponent down to 1 here. Oh no, but then we get the trigger from the Searslicer, and that's exactly lethal. Oh my goodness. Ooh, math is hard, folks, but found a way to patch it all together. You know, thankfully, for my own sake, that adding another creature for a block also happens to add another damage. So pretty good there. It took me a while to figure out what the best line was. Definitely was to just put the most amount of creatures we could on the battlefield. Also happened to be exactly 13 damage, and that's the power of Warleader's Call and why we stretch to Boros in this build, because it, you know, you can see it makes our Squee huge. I mean, how much damage did it do over the course of that game? I mean, it did a ton of damage. It did maybe close to 10 extra damage as Warleader's Call did. So pretty impressive stuff there. GG's. Okay, we're going first. We have a slower hand, relatively speaking, for our deck. We do have this Torch the Tower for a turn 1 play. We'll keep this. Draconautics Engineer turn 2, Warleader's Call turn 3. We'll use that on turn 1. Okay, no cut down from our opponent. What could they be playing? Esper. Storm Chaser's Talent. This is probably Esper Pixie? Yes. Yes it is. Okay, Esper Pixie. Got a 2-2 here. Yeah, pretty sure we just want a Warleader's Call. Do we want to trade for both? And we have a second Draconautics Engineer. No, I don't think we want to trade for both. Not sure they would have given it to us anyway. I think we can do better though. I'm not really that worried about them killing us or defeating our life total before we can do it to them. Nowhere to run is a good reason to trade there though. Another Pixie, back to nowhere to run, okay. That's pretty good. Draconautics Engineer. Do this Bashtronaut, start our engines, and then they'll have taken damage here. Gain 1 here. On the speed. But has nowhere to run again. This time we'll have Reckless Lackey into Torch the Tower, or we can play Krenko Mob Boss. One issue with Krenko is it is a 3-3, so now that we have seen nowhere to run, we need to get that out of the way before our Krenko hits the field. No reason to really believe they have another one in hand. Opponent has now switched it up on us and put the pressure on us. I think we would have rather have had this trade now that I think about it. This is a deck that uses its mana very efficiently. Fear of Isolation for the nowhere to run. Just absolutely beating us up here. Okay, first strike haste. You can sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token. Okay, let's attack here. Opponent doesn't block, that's fine. See if they hit us with a nowhere to run. 6 through the air. Scavenger, okay. Yeah, I think they just kind of out-tempoed us here. Just kind of surprising. We did have a, the double Pixie, nowhere to run draw. This is as ideal as you can get against our Goblins deck. Removal spell you can repeatedly pick up. You can flash this in here. Yeah, I don't think there's really much we can do now. Nowhere to run. Kill this here in response. Gonna take 8. And with just a Krenko in hand, not sure there's much we can do about this. Well, actually, we're gonna take 9. Okay, yikes. Okay, down to 1. Dark Shores, Rundvelt Hordemaster. We do get some max speed, and this does have double strike, but alas, not getting much. GG's. Yeah, kind of felt like they punked us out of that game. Well played by them. Kind of just faster. I mean, that's why the Pixie deck is very good. It can do things like that to opposing creature decks. It's very good against mono red. I think that's kind of what it's It can be very good against mono red, and it's kind of its place in the meta is to kind of unravel decks like that, especially if you build your deck in such a way that it has these Fear of Isolations and Pixies and Nowhere to Runs and all this to ensure you can keep your opponent's small creatures off the battlefield. Like if we had bigger creatures, for instance, that would have been harder for our opponent, but you know, they ran into a good matchup, so GG's. Alrighty, we're going first here. Good hand. Lackey on 1, and then Searslicer potentially on 2. Some sort of big 3-drop on 3. Hordemaster eventually to give us +1/+1, and then Sweeper Resilience. I see the vision. Well, it's got a nice cute little mouse. Could definitely be mono red mirror. Who'd they roll in here? No, it's definitely not the mono red mirror. Storm Chaser's Talent. Hopefully it's not the exact pixie deck we just played against. Conceal the white mana for now. Attack with a Lackey so we can get another Goblin on the field. What we draw next turn, I think, is going to determine if we go Warleader's Call or Howlsquad Heavy. What our opponent plays. Pixie to pick up the talents, sure thing. Got a 2/2 going. Replays it. That makes me feel like I should cast this or play this Warleader's Call more. That way I can get my 2/2 here. Without jeopardizing this Searslicer Goblin. Because it's worth a lot getting a 2/2 on the back swing here. Okay, trading here is fine with us. Deal of damage, make a 2/2. A couple Hordemasters and Heavies in hand. Shouldn't be a Wrath deck. Could have Lockdown and then some way to bounce it. That would be kind of nasty. Definitely something that could be in our opponent's deck, though. We would keep this Warleader's Call around, though. Fear of Isolation, pick up a land to cast another spell, which is a Pixie, to pick up the Storm Chaser's Talent. Okay. Opponent really... Ooh. That was pretty good. Yeah, another Warleader's Call, why not? Just attack with both of these. Keep this Goblin around. Certainly they're blocking this in some fashion, and if we attack with it. Then yeah, Warleader's Call. Wins us a game. We got back at the Dastardly Pixie deck. So that was fun. Now let's hit the wrap-up. GG's. Alrighty, we're here with the wrap-up for Goblins and Aetherdrift Standard, and there is good news if you're a Goblins mage or somebody who just likes the Goblins archetype. This is a viable deck that you can play. There's a lot of power in the Goblins. They make a lot of wide bodies, from Krenko to Howlsquad Heavy to Searslicer Goblin to Squee, and then you can take advantage of those bodies with Warleader's Call, Impact Tremors. We're literally playing white mana only for Warleader's Call, which I think is a good way to just make sure all your things produce red, all your mana sources produce red, but also a way that you can get some more power into your deck, some more copies of Impact Tremor into your deck. Now, this is a deck that I wouldn't just run out and spend all my wild cards on. It's not the best deck of the format, but it's certainly fun. And if you've played a lot of, Aetherdrift Draft, or you happen to have some of these Goblin cards, I would recommend just trying it out on the ladder if you don't have to have too high of a wild card investment, rare or mythic rare wild card investment. Actually, the only mythic rares I think are the Cavern of Souls, which you probably have some number of Cavern of Souls in your build, and you can probably play this deck without the Cavern of Souls and just opt for more mountains. It'll be just very slightly worse, but there's not a ton of decks looking to counter your spells here. Your Goblin spells specifically. The one downside right now of this deck is that mono red in best of one is very good. So people are packing hate specifically against your deck, where they're all playing decks. All the decks that people are playing have a aggressive red strategy in mind, whether it be temporary lockdown or so on and so forth. This deck tries to get around that by having some really good 3 and 4 mana spells to diversify your threat pool away from temporary lockdown targets with Warleader's Call. Squee is an excellent card. Krenko is a card that can steal games if it goes unchecked. Howlsquad Heavy. a super powerful card that can generate a lot of mana, or it can just create a huge wide body, similar to Goblin Rabblemaster of Standard Jor. This deck still does, have the ability to just aggressively run your opponent out of the game with some sort of Burnout Bashtronaut. Start with Impact Tremors, other powerful 2-drops, 3-drops, so on and so forth, and then a late game ability if the board gets gummed up to just kill your opponent through Impact Tremors or Warleader's Calls, triggers through either Krenko additions or Searslicer Goblins or what have you. A lot of different angles of attack, a lot of reach in this deck, surprisingly. Very fun. I would definitely give this a spin if you have something approximating this deck already in your collection. But yeah, I greatly enjoyed playing this deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching me play this deck. And until next time, wherever you are, whenever you are, have a magical day.